You're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer.
Ryan Singer.
It's more fun to believe.
Indeed.
Third year bonus.
There seems to be a ghost in the machine. Welcome to the program. This is your buddy Ryan Singer. This is a third year bonus of Me and Paranormal You. How are you? I hope you're doing okay. There is a lot to talk about here on today's program. First of all, let's talk about the nature of the Mindcast, the podcast, for the last month and a half or so. I have been on the road, as you know. If you listen to this show, you know I've been just nonstop traveling for about 6 weeks now. Anyway, that has led to a wide variety of content on this program. It's been mixed in with a large mix of investigation and actual things that you do when you're out there kind of exploring the paranormal have been, showcased on these episodes. Now, I should say that, that is a departure from the way the show has previously been, with just interviews and monologuing, I guess, if that's what we want to call it, on 30-year bonuses like this. We're still going to be doing that, and that's still going to be happening. And that's what this one is. And there will be video for you. This is going to be, I'm probably going to be looping in just some driving video, maybe some screenshots or things like that. But this one, you won't have to, there will be supplemental material, I suppose, if you were to watch the video of this episode. But this one is not video contingent at all. Like when we're seeing lights in the sky, I got to put that out there. Okay, and I'm having fun doing the new kind of versions of whatever the float, the astral float files or whatever we're calling them or whatever they have been. I'm like having a high level of enjoyment. This show will always be what I enjoy to do. So, and if that means I move away from the monologuing and the interviews at some point in the future, I guess so be it. But I have to. I'm not going to do something just because it's the way I've always done it. Having said that, I still quite enjoy this. And I've got some interviews that I'm lining up, and we're going to get to you, very soon here in the next couple of weeks as well. So just wanted to give you a heads up out there. I'm still going to be putting that kind of video content out there, and maybe I'll just be doing bonus, and maybe I'll just be, maybe I'll just be doing all the investigation stuff over at the Patreon, patreon.com/Ryan Singer, $3 a month. No commercials ever, plus bonus investigation video, apparently, it turns out, maybe, possibly, could be so, per adventure, perhaps. Okay, so I just had a birthday. And on the day after my birthday, as I'm not a big celebrator of the birthday, but every once in a while, maybe I'll like to cut loose and get myself a milkshake. I just had a milkshake from UDF in my old hometown, and that's why I'm a little juiced up right now. And the day after, on July 10th, a article drops. I think it's an article. My buddy Jimmy Church posted this thing about, the Pentagon's Ghostbusters, rogue military officials hunted UFOs, ghosts, and monsters. And I'm like, oh, here we go. We're getting confirmation of such things. And I got to tell you, I think before I go into clicking around and finding this and getting into this, and we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about Stephen Greenstreet specifically, who is the person who made this for the New York Post. And that sentence may have told you everything you need to know. New York Post, right? But, okay, before we get into any of that, I'm super excited. I'm like, happy birthday to me. We're getting some confirmation on this. I feel like I have, I don't know, it's not firsthand, it's not secondhand, it's 1.5 hand knowledge of specific governmental operations, doing this kind of research and things like that. I have never, been doing that with the government or whatever, right? But, you hear these stories, you're in this long enough, you watch the UFO hearings, you understand that this is real. Project Stargate, the first one, you get, whether it's ATIP, now Arrow, you read Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, you read, the what was it, Lieutenant Corso's book, what was it, The Day After Roswell, I think it was called. You read these firsthand accounts, right? And you are getting a glimpse into the world of what seemingly is the unknown and the impossible, and the discarded and the covered up potentially, or not even covered up, is just dismissed and not considered to be credible. So I click, I find it's a video. It's like a 25-minute video. It's not an article. And it's this guy who I find his Instagram. It's like him hanging out with, he's got a picture like him and Trump, and he's all excited about it. And I'm just like, okay, am I going to believe anything? What am I going to do with it? Is this the thing I'm going to, because I was like, oh, maybe I'll try to interview this guy and do some follow-up. But, it just came out last week. And then, the more I snoop around and the more I'm just like, oh, I don't even think well, let me say it this way. He's a shit talker. Okay. I think he's a click getter and a shit talker. I'd have him on the show and I'd ask him, are you just a shit talker and a click getter, or what are you? He seems to have done some research and been able to get to the bottom of this. He's talking about these government insiders, and he can't believe that certain people that were part of the Skinwalkers at the Pentagon group, the ATIP group, actually it was OSAP, right? I mean, it was Colm Kelleher and Lukatsky, and that crew was OSAP, right? And Elizondo, who how we feel about old Lou Elizondo over here. He's just he's a spook. He's a bogus. He's an idiot. I'm not going to get personal here. He's not an idiot, but I'm not going to say he's an idiot. I've never met him, but I'm not interested in anything Lou Elizondo has to say. He actually even references Elizondo's book Imminent here, and I have some friends who have read that book, and they seem to think it was a good read. I'm not going to read the book. I'm not going to waste hours of my life reading a book that Lou Elizondo paid someone else to write for him. I guarantee Elizondo did not write that book. I mean, is this slander? I'm not trying to slander Elizondo. He's not a writer, okay? He's a spook. And he's a spook that's in the pocket of big government military contractors trying to scare people about UFOs and UAPs. And we've got information about that's coming out apparently from the other side of these things, with Dr. Stephen Greer talking about how he has reported names to people who are actively trying to prevent, witness testimony and protections. And is it Mr. Elizondo one of these people? Is he one of these people that could potentially be charged with crimes? Who knows? I don't know. Greer isn't light-handed on a lot of his stuff, right? So, and I love Dr. Greer. I think he's been doing the heavy lifting and the big work for decades. Okay, and if there's any question on whose side I'm on, it's his. And Elizondo has called him a domestic terrorist. It's just crazy. So we don't really care about Lou Elizondo over here. I don't care how cool his little goatee looks. I'm not interested in that whole crew. I mean, you got the Bigelow crew, right? You got the George Knapp, and we love George Knapp, right? Well, George Knapp's part of the Bigelow crew, and Bigelow's just a billionaire. And Bigelow, I don't know, is Bigelow worth our time and our effort being emotionally invested in him? I don't know. Can you invest emotionally in any billionaire? I would argue you cannot. So, moving forward, this guy Greenstreet references, that's right, I got on this tirade because of this stupid thing he put in the video. He's trying to show that there's this woman, Jessica Wyatt, who worked she works for the Department of Defense now, or the Pentagon, and I can't remember exactly. You can watch the video. I'll link it because I'm not a total jerk, but I hate to drive views to this guy, but nonetheless. And then, one of the things he's talking about, trying to figure out the identity of JW, and I know who he's talking about. I didn't know her name, but I knew who he was talking about because we talked about this on the show, about a woman who was at Skinwalker Ranch. She's part of that whole crew, right? And had the phenomena, had the hitchhiker effect, right? Had it follow her all the way to the East Coast, with poltergeist stuff happening and crazy stuff happening, right? After she had visited Skinwalker Ranch. And I believe she's the one who had the roommate who ended up just like moving out. Like, I'm not dealing with this, right? Well, he ends up uncovering her identity. This guy, Greenstreet. Okay, well, kudos. I mean, the guy did some digging, and he put some faces and names to faceless and nameless players in this game here. And is it a game? Who knows? Maybe it is just a game, right? I really hope we're not all being played on this game. But if it turns out we're being played on a game, like on a large scale, I would have to admit that, right? And I'd like to think I wouldn't have a problem doing that. I would be deeply disappointed if it turns out that some of the seemingly credible whistleblowers were in fact just, pawns or game players on this crazy, what are we playing this game for game? Who knows, right? So, any hoodles. So he finds out who JW is. Then he finds out this other woman who's married to this other guy. And the tick from the Tic Tac video and the pilots. But so Elizondo in his book, referring to Jessica Wyatt specifically, she was referenced in Skinwalkers at the Pentagon as JW. In Elizondo's book, I think it's page 5, Greenstreet says, Elizondo starts elaborating about how attractive she is. Lethally attractive or whatever. It's just like, what are you doing, bro? Like, you're talking about who cares if she's attractive? Like, this is like some 1950s shit, right? I mean, I'm not crazy about that. I'm not crazy saying that, right? It's just like, why is that even important, bro? Like, it's it just shows you, right? Shows you. It tells you everything you need to know, in my opinion. He's writing like a spy novel as opposed to an actual disclosure book. Try not to get too upset about this because Elizondo pisses me off. And also, I got to tell you, this Greenstreet guy, he struck a nerve with me. Maybe it's because I started watching this video immediately after having a large strawberry classic OG #1 all time on my list milkshake. Not to be confused if you know my stand-up comedy from a couple albums ago, my top 5 fast food joint milkshakes. United Dairy Farmers is not a fast food joint. It is a proper ice cream shop type place. Also happens to be a gas station. And also happens to have some of the best eggnog you can get during the holiday season. Nonetheless, so I am super juiced. I'm super jacked. I'm cracked. I'm stacked. I'm lacked toast right now. Okay, so maybe it's just bad timing for me. But he kind of shit talks. He shit talks about people from OSAP being brought back in to further investigate with new funding, right? The point is, his whole tone is dismissive. And he has some show, and I think he's got it. It's like a video podcast with Nick Pope, I believe, something about the basement or something. And it's like, how do you have a show with Nick Pope and your overall vibe is very dismissive and I don't know, shitbaggy. Can I say that? I'm sure I can. It's my show. And again, I don't know this guy. Maybe I should get him on the show and be like, hey, listen, I thought your vibe was pretty shitbaggy and dismissive. You seem to, think that some of the people that are involved who have been dedicating their lives to paranormal research through government channels are kind of wacky, saying that, all these people in front of Congress, none of them have any evidence, is what he's saying. And it leads me to believe that someone's not paying attention to the congressional hearings. Now, listen, I don't have them memorized, right? I've watched them. I didn't go back and re-watch them over and over and over, all those hours and hours, But I do remember some very key components. And some of those key components, which is one of the most frustrating parts of disclosure and the disclosure movement when it comes to UFOs and other paranormal stuff, interdimensional beings, etc., is I am not at liberty to say that. I'm not able to say that outside of a skiff, a soundproof room kind of thing, right, or whatever. And anytime a big answer is getting ready to come out, you get skiffed. You just keep getting skiffed, right? And I mean, we're talking about the senator, the Congress people. They're getting skiffed. They keep getting skiffed, and I get pissed when they get skiffed because I get skiffed. I get secondhand skiffed when they get skiffed, and it makes me pissed. Nonetheless, so the evidence that he's talking about that they don't have any of, first of all, it's not accurate in any way to make that statement, considering there was a 70-some page document. I think I've uploaded over at the Patreon page that what's his name? I can't remember. I can't remember all these people's names, but about the the Immaculate Collection Program, the Down to Aircraft Retrieval Program. There's a huge document that was presented that was made public, and it's a paper trail, which is evidence, right? There is video, which is evidence. Now there are reports coming out very recently, a hat tip to Jimmy Church, because he has Richard Dolan on his program all the time, and they're talking about, was the Tic Tac UAP UFO, was it actually Lockheed Martin technology? So now there is a giant conversation unfolding about whether or not the Tic Tac was man-made. So it's man-made, reverse engineered from not man-made technology, actually controlled by one of the defense contractors who have all this deep black money, right? And that is Lockheed Martin is one of them, one of the key figures. So now there is a growing school of thought that the Tic Tac was an actual man-made UFO, which Greer talks about, that we have man-made UFOs. And by we, I mean these people have man-made UFOs that are often used to, now, stick with me here, they are the ones doing all the cattle mutilations, all of the bad abductions, to elicit fear, to grow a fear narrative attached to and surrounding aliens, ETs, and UFOs as a fear campaign for a long play to seize more power and control more by people surrendering their rights to be protected from an extraterrestrial threat, etc., etc. Patriot Act, 9/11, all over again, but on steroids, right? So that is kind of, what all that, there's a lot going on here, right? I've been kind of jumping, I've been just kind of doing the stream of consciousness. So what you have here is you have this big video that drops, and there are some interesting new pieces of information that Greenstreet is able to uncover. So hat tip to that. Being able to, get, what is that guy? Michael Green, is that his name? Jessica Wyatt. He is naming names from some of these other people that were heretofore unnamed as part of this OSAP program, right? And this research. Now, what is interesting here is that outside of some of these names, right, and making some connections, like he realized like oh, these two people ended up getting married. It's like, okay, that's fine. Looks like we have to do a commercial break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna take this short break. Remember, $3 a month, no commercials ever. Over at the Patreon page, patreon.com/Ryan Singer. We're going to come back and we're going to talk more about disclosure. We're going to talk about more about this, about these milkshakes and how I'm getting fired up. Okay, I'm back. I hope you're back too. Oh my God. I there's no shortage of shake juices over here inside of me, and there's no shortage of disdain for this video. Am I coming out too harsh? Is this what the kids call a hot take? Am I doing a hot take, right? I'm not trying to be part of hot take culture. Hot take culture is absolute garbage. That's my hot take. You want my hot take? Hot take culture is garbage. There's a hot take for you. Hot takes are shit, maybe shit takes. So anyway, they're all about clicks and views, right? Anyway, so thanks for coming back to the show. I'm having fun on this one. Oh God, I thought I saw a light moving outside this window. It is not a moving light. So he got me all fired up again. He's doing this part. He said he's talking about like a conference where you do psychic summoning of UFOs. Many of us know that as, at least a version of it. The most well-known version, I would argue, is CE5. The Bledsoe family is also known for doing this. Christopher Bledsoe specifically. Excuse me. And he's talking about. So you put on these magic goggles and do that. It's like why are you calling them magic goggles? They're just blind. It's like a blindfold. And you're calling them magic goggles, or maybe it's just the way Stephen talks. But he's talking about what was her name? Sarah Gam, who works for the Pentagon, or she's worked for all kinds of things, but she had a near-death experience. She died and came back. She said she went to heaven, came back, and now she's got supercharged psychic abilities. Now, this is something that we are quite familiar with, and we have covered on this show a bunch. We have talked to people. I'm getting ready to go see my shaman, Sarah Goff, the wonderful, amazing Sarah Goff. I'm getting ready to see her in a few days, and she's one of these people who has been there and back, and upon returning, found themselves with new abilities and new powers or something, or new magic, as Stephen Greenstreet would say. And I do think that I'd like to have just an amicable conversation with this fella at some point. Maybe I'm not over here. I don't hate this guy. Hate is a word that hopefully I reserve for no one, but because who knows? And now I could have dug deeper and got into his basement show just to kind of see where he's at, but maybe he's the skeptic and Nick Pope's the believer. And, I don't know. If you're not familiar with Nick Pope is, I guess, well known in ufology circles. And I think he was former British intelligence, I believe. So he's one of those like former spooks who's now a UFO person at all the conferences everywhere you go. There's Nick Pope. Okay. And that's not to say that Nick Pope doesn't have, I'm not saying that to be, I'm not trying to be dismissive, just to be clear here. More Nick Pope all day, every day, right? As far as I'm concerned. Less of this talk of magic goggles and being pretty dismissive of near-death experiences and pretty dismissive of people who have been dedicating their scientific studies to paranormal phenomena in general, which is an incredible piece of American history, of world history that you can get into. And I had some great conversations with my buddy Matthew Jackson when I was out visiting the ITC bunker. Some of that is in the last episode. And I'll be putting part 2 up, or maybe part 2 already went up. I don't know the sequence here or how that's going to be, but I will say this. I will say this about that. Just one more thing about that before. Just something has been bothering me. Okay, Columbo, we don't need Columbo, Disclosure Columbo. There's already Disclosure Cowboy. We can't have Disclosure Columbo. So when you think about a person who has dedicated a decent amount of their young adult life or adult life, depending on when they decided to do the schooling, to get an advanced degree in some kind of scientific field, and then to throw caution to the wind and care not about their reputation and what may or may not be said about them behind closed doors and every other door that might even be open. Because let's face it, when it comes to sharing your belief in the paranormal or your experiences of high strangeness, people don't necessarily even need to have the door closed to be dismissive of you or to ridicule you, to make fun of you, to chastise you, to call you names. Stupid, gullible, ridiculous, and if this was, what's that show? Steve Harvey does it now. Is it Family Feud? If this was Family Feud and we interviewed 100 people on the street, the number one answer is crazy. Ding, 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 ding. So people are going to think you're crazy. I think we all can relate to that. Those of us who have pretty intense paranormal experiences, whether they're spontaneous paranormal experiences or whether they were sought. That doesn't matter. That detail is negligible. So the people who decide to dedicate their lives to the study of such a thing, I can think of a name right at the top of my head, Dr. Jeff Tarrant, who's been on this show and is involved with the telepathy tapes. And there is a definite, a tint or a shade or a shadow that goes over, as soon as more and more people find out that you're doing that, you're interested in that, you're dedicating resources and time to such a thing, some people will consider you to be a not serious person anymore. Now, I'm a stand-up comedian, so luckily, it's never really been an issue for me that people thought I wasn't a serious person. Oh, what? I'm not a serious person? Now, is Jackie Mason trying to come in? Are we going to have, if this was the late 70s, I'd be killing it right now. Or let's say mid-80s. If this was the mid-80s, I would be absolutely killing it right now with a Columbo, Jackie Mason, throwing some Ronald Reagan. Well, we don't, can you imagine, Columbo has Ronald Reagan in a room, and he comes back, and he's like, hey, just one more thing's been bothering me. The trickle-down economics, you really fucked the poor and the middle class, don't you think? Well, I just did what I'm told. Well. Okay, moving on from this. You don't need me to go full-on socialist here during another episode. I think that's been clearly established that I am left of Democrats when it comes to how I believe government should be. And that's why I love living in California, because of the social services there are primo for people. I don't mind paying a higher tax rate so more people can have the things they need. That seems reasonable to me. Now, what we got here is this. Okay, like I said, I'm going to post this. It's been about a week as I'm recording this since this video dropped by Stephen Greenstreet over at the New York Post, who used to be a video producer for the State Department. Now can we talk about that? Can we talk about, is he being fed, is he a plant over at the New York Post? He's been at the New York Post for years now. I don't know how many years, more than 3. Some of you might be going, do you mean to say 4, Ryan? Is that what you mean to say? And I don't remember. I read it and I didn't retain that piece of information, and I don't have it in front of me because I decided to record because I got too fired up. So what you have here is a guy who potentially might be working for the State Department in the media. Maybe. Well, I don't know. Is that the craziest thing we've ever heard happening? Don't even get me started right now about all of that, about the fake news and all that kind of stuff. Now, I would be interested to know who owns the New York Post. I don't have the answer to that. But let me give you just a little bit of background on the guy who made the video, just so I'm not a total bastard over here, just being a bastard about it all. He's an American documentary filmmaker and journalist known for the controversial film 8, The Mormon Proposition, which was selected to premiere at the 2010 Sundance Film Festival. Currently residing in New York City, he also worked as a video investigative journalist for the Huffington Post Investigative Fund and a video producer for the U.S. State Department. Okay? I went to his website. It's not working. He's got another movie called, his featured debut was The Divided State, which captures the agitated climate surrounding Michael Moore's invitation to speak at the Utah Valley State College shortly before the 2004 presidential elections. I remember that time. I do remember that time. That was the Bush-Gore election. And boy, oh boy, your guy over here on the microphone 21 years ago, he doesn't want to tell you where he was in that place in his life. That was 20. Was that the Boer? Was that the second election? I can't remember. That had to be maybe the second one. Yeah, the website's not working, Steve. I tried to click on it again. Unfortunately, we can't get any website action. But yeah, so he's working for the New York Post, and he's been making his movies. So he's got the Basement Office. It's a New York Post YouTube series concerning UFOs. He started that in 2019, so 6 years ago. So he's been into this for a minute, right? This isn't he's not. 6 years ago is still kind of a Johnny-come-lately, I would imagine, in some degree. For hardcore paranormal enthusiasts and euphonauts would say that that's definitely a Johnny-come-lately kind of thing. But if he started, the series in 2019, clearly he was interested in the subject matter long before 2019. So, hey, let's take it easy, hardcore euphonauts and ufologists and paranormal enthusiasts. And you might be saying, but Ryan, you're the one who called him a Johnny-come-lately. I said that people might consider that to be. People consider me a Johnny-come-lately. I've been doing this show for 12 plus years. Someone might say that I'm a Johnny-come-lately. Okay? But as we know, starting a show or a podcast or whatever about something, you were thinking about doing it long before you even did it. And eventually you got your act together and you were able to do it, right? Any hoodles. Oh, I just got a hot text come in. Is this from the streets of is this from the paranormal streets? Oh no, my buddy, this buddy of mine, Mike, who I grew up with, he's always texting me random videos and reels and things. He's one of my buddy, who's like coming in, he's like having this like paranormal awakening, you know what I mean, over the last few years. And I'll spend time sometimes when I'm in Florida at his place just to hang out for a few days, maybe if I can. And that's all he wants to talk about. It's all he wants to talk about. You might experience that yourself. You might be listening to this and think, yeah, I'm the paranormal weirdo in my family, or I'm the paranormal weirdo in my group of friends. Or you have a paranormal weirdo in your group of friends, in your circle, who is just obsessed and all in on this stuff, right? And so people come to you, or people come to that person, and whenever that person is around, they always want to talk about this. Now, when I'm doing stand-up comedy on the road, I love everything about stand-up comedy, and I enjoy the shows. I enjoy talking comedy, comedians, old comedians, new comedians. There are so many really, truly funny comedians. Some of them have been doing stand-up comedy for 3 years, it turns out, and some of them have been doing it for 35 years. There's so much good comedy out there. I implore you to go get it. We did a show at the Davenport, the Renwick Mansion in Davenport, part of the Quad Cities in Iowa, at the haunted Renwick Mansion, stayed there again. It was an incredible show. The whole show was bangers. And there was probably 6 or 7 comedians who went up before me, and I closed the show out. I did probably about, 40 minutes or whatever it was. And I'm just standing in the back the whole time for like 45 minutes going, like, what is happening here? Like, they don't need me to go up. The show has been so damn good this whole time. And so I kept telling all the comedians that come off stage, I'm like, why are you making me work so hard? You're going to make me work? You're going to, I came here to this haunted mansion to, enjoy myself, get a little relaxation, maybe see if we can pick up some EVPs and tell some jokes. And now I'm going to have to work. I'm going to have to lock in and focus and really work here. And it was so damn fun. It was so damn fun. I love when I have to work. Like, I love when the comedians before the show make me work. I appreciate that. It brings out the best in everybody. And I'd like to think that the paranormal field is no different. That the better we do. Now, listen, I mean, we know that's already the case, don't we? I'm getting so juiced up and jacked up over here. We already know it's the case. When somebody makes something or does something that's just really, really damn good, it's inspiring to, hopefully, as long as people haven't been consumed by bitter jealousy and whatever else, right? That's a poison. That is a poisonous path. But when somebody does something really, really well, it's truly an inspiring moment that should, hopefully inspire us to try to even be better at what we're doing. Hellier, when that dropped, is probably the seminal example of, video content, web series / docu-series type stuff. For me, Hellier did that. Now, have I seen every paranormal investigation series out there? No, I have not. There's so many I have not seen. Liminal, my buddy Dash, their show. It's another one. I really, really enjoy it. Now, these things make us want to be better, want us to do better, or they make us want to do better, get more in depth, be more rich, be more thick, be more dense, but in a good way dense, not boring dense, right? That's what paranormal investigation should be like. And that's what, I'm just not getting the vibe from Greenstreet that he's like on that same vibe, I could be wrong. I am going to reach out to him and see if we can chat. I'd love to get to the bottom of his investigation techniques. If he'd give away some secrets. Now he works for the New York Post, so he probably has a little more cachet or a little more leeway or a little more juice to try to get a hold of somebody, or at least to try to get a response or a comment. A lot of the people that he is naming in this video, they're not responding. They're not getting back to him for comment, which is unfortunate, but very few of them actually got back to him and even talked to him, according to him, because he's like letting you know as the video goes. Right? And there's a bunch of different chapters in the video as well. But I mean, I don't know. I could be, now hear me out here. I could be an asshole, and you could watch this video, and I implore you should watch it. And you're going to watch the video, and you'll have a myriad of reactions depending on who you are, what you're doing, what your day has been like. Some of you might have the reaction of like, wow, Ryan, I think you're being an asshole. This video was actually fine. And I don't think he was being dismissive at all. And I'll have to like look myself in the mirror and be like, okay, well, what was going on in that moment? Like, was I too jacked up? Was I too sugar shacked? Was I shook on shakes in such a way that I wasn't able to properly watch this video? And did I let my personal political beliefs influence what I thought about this guy? Because he has a picture of him and, the fascist overlord on his Instagram page. I don't know. He's also got a picture of him and David Lynch. Maybe does that cancel that other one out? I don't know. We're going to be right back. This is the last break. Patreon.com/Ryan Singer. $3 a month. No commercials. How about it? We'll be back in just a minute. And we're going to wrap this bad boy up. Okay, we're back. I hope you're back. I think you are. If you hear my voice, that means you're back. So this is Ryan. We're talking about, the Pentagon's Ghostbusters article that dropped on July 10th. And, the person who made that video and, they've been in, what is it? The basement tapes. I already forgot it. Since 2019. That's a New York Post YouTube video series. Now, I'll let you decide what you think of that, on what you think of the New York Post and et cetera, et cetera. Now, let's get into the other side of this coin here. We have the Dr. Stephen Greer, who, I don't know if you follow Dr. Greer on Instagram or the Disclosure Project on Instagram, but I highly recommend it. There's all kinds of updates. There's crazy updates sometimes on there. The other day, I think it was, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, there was an update on the Instagram with Dr. Greer was in Mexico, I believe, and some people posing as law enforcement officers, they were not, tried to steal the Boogosphere. Now, we don't have time to get into what the Boogosphere is and all that kind of stuff, and the testing that's where they were going to be doing all the testing on it to try to figure out where and what this thing is. And that's just some of the stuff you can kind of get from the Instagram and things like that if you want to try to keep up. It's impossible to keep up with all this stuff. Okay, I am gesticulating in such an enormous fashion over here that, the milkshake energy is real. 42 minutes into this episode, and I'm still juiced up, but I'm still jacked up. Now, and I stopped. I finished the milkshake, decently before a decent amount of time before I even hit the record button. So there's another film out called Asymmetric Disclosure. Now, what's different about this from Dr. Greer is you can't watch this one for free. And I haven't done a lot of digging to see if I can find someone uploaded it or something like that. I'm not going to do that. I don't know. I do support the disclosure movement, when I can. I purchased the book, the briefing document that they came out with late last year, or put out early this year, I should say, that they handed off to the new administration at the changeover. That was, a $35, $40 book or whatever it is. It's an interesting and fascinating book. And a culmination of disclosure evidence and documents and stories and information from over 3 decades worth of information. And I don't know how anyone can look at that and just be like, I don't think we really need to do anything about it. It's pretty wild. So there's an interesting interview out now that came out. When did this thing come out? I don't even know when this thing came out. Let's go to the website or the YouTube page, and you can find out pretty quickly. If you just click on videos, usually it'll, usually do that. But bombshell information the world is not ready for. That's the video that we were just watching. That's going to be an interview about asymmetrical disclosure. That's the breaking news, the documentary. They don't want you to see the Lost Century. Now, I haven't even watched the Lost Century. I'm dropping the ball on that. Okay. Now, the video on the Boogosphere is not here on the YouTube. Maybe it's on the shorts, actually. It is. Breaking news from Mexico. I'm just going to play this. I think you'll be able to hear it. And, I'll just play a snippet of it. And, I'm not trying to, take this material here, okay?
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Stephen Greer. I'm in Mexico City. As many of you know, we've been examining the Boogosphere for the last 2 days with Congressman Burleson and a group of scientists. We've just been notified by Jaime Mason that there was an attempt by fake policemen to enter the vault where the Boogosphere is stored, and we have notified security and the apparatus I'm working with under law enforcement. And you should know that the other risk here is that we have taken specific samples from the Boogosphere that will be tested in a state-of-the-art lab to prove whether or not the metal, as well as some of the other components, are of Earth or outer space origin.
Okay, so that's just a little snippet of that, and that's just a YouTube short, okay? Now, there's just a lot going on, right? And I think that's what we were kind of talking about. It's impossible to keep up with everything. You've got your life, you've got your job, you've got your family, you've got your relationships. And, how do we juggle all of these things simultaneously? It is easy to become obsessed with something, right? I think about this a lot recently. If you look at all the most popular television programs that, Americans and people in the world seem to be most interested in watching, the main character or the main characters of these shows are obsessed. And are they psychopaths? Well, obviously Tony Soprano, yes. And, Walt White, yes, right? If you watch The Bear, don't worry, no spoilers. I just finished season 4 of The Bear. I thought it was the final season, actually. So I'm watching the last episode. The last episode ends, and I'm sitting there, and I'm cursing the sky like, you're going to leave me like that? Like, I thought it was the end of the series. And this was last night, actually. Well, let me clarify. That was this morning at 5 in the morning, because there's nothing I like more than a good binge. Okay, and I didn't anticipate it, but it just kind of happened, and I finished it. I thought I was going to save myself some episodes for when I'm in the hotel this weekend working, but I did not. I went through. I went for it, and at 5 in the morning, I'm yelling at the ceiling, "How can you end it like this?" And then I do an immediate Google search and realize, oh, I'm misinformed. Okay. But the point is, if you've seen even an episode or two of The Bear on FX, Hulu, you know that Carmen, the bear, Carmen Berzado, you know that he's like a psychopath when it comes to wanting to be a good chef, right? That's all he does. He lives, breathes, sleeps, eats, poops. It's all about the restaurant, right? When comedians start out in stand-up comedy, you have to be so obsessed with it those first at least 5 years, minimum 5 years, I would argue. It has to be your entire life. You go to places that you would never go. You try to make people laugh that you would never hang out with, right? You're trying to figure out how to talk to everyone. At least that's how comedy used to be. How can I make everyone laugh? Right? Even people that I would never hang out with, right? Because we have nothing in common maybe, or whatever, right? And that goes for any kind of comedian, and we all have to do it. And you have to be obsessed. You have to live, breathe, sleep, poop, and eat stand-up comedy. If you're going to be successful, then, hopefully you get some success early on, and you can start taking the foot off the gas a little bit, right? And you can try to make room for other things in your life. And then you get older, you get to a place like me, I'm over 20 years in, and you're like, oh yeah, I like having my life now. I enjoy my life part. And everything has changed in the world so much too that I don't really care about. There's so much I don't care about anymore that I cared about 15 years ago. Quite honestly, I just really don't care about show business that much at all anymore. But I'm more interested in this, these guided meditations and trying to astral travel around the multiverse, or the infinite space that is consciousness. That sounds more exciting to me. Now, having said that, I love stand-up comedy, but the business part of it, who really gives a shit, right? And I will continue to perform and try to make strangers laugh and even friends laugh, and until the day I'm dead. You just never retire when you do something that you love like that. But these psychos that are the main characters of all these TV shows, they're compelling characters because there's always drama that happens, because they're so focused, and everything in their life is just so focused on something, whether it's, getting power, taking control, or getting rich, or whatever it is. And so they're always thinking about it. They're always working towards it. They're always doing it. There's always new things that pop up, new challenges that pop up. That is every TV show. You solve one problem that presents itself in the storyline. And you probably know this, or if you don't know it, maybe we're breaking some story here for you and some story structure. Watch your favorite television program. And if it's a drama specifically, even if it's a comedy, a problem is presented, whether it's a dynamic in a relationship, or it's something that someone has to do, something has to get done, or the clock is ticking on something. They figure out a way to do it. Once they come up with a solution, two new problems will arise, right? Those are the kind of shows that I enjoy watching. Like, you solve it, you plug the hole, and two more holes start spitting water. That is the ongoing, never-ending drama, stress, anxiety of a Tony Soprano's life, right? Because to be such a person and to have such a thing is to be, one has to be so driven. They have to be a psycho, right? And that's all they care about. And all of these shows now that are the most popular, they have these characters. And I will say this, what's compelling about these characters is they have purpose. That's the key. That is the secret ingredient in this story. Purpose. You can feel their purpose when you're watching. When you're watching The Bear, you feel Carmen's purpose. You feel it, right? You feel the other character's purpose as well. And so now you have all these different characters who are driven by their purpose. And oftentimes those purposes conflict with one another. And neither character is going to concede or give up their purpose. They're not going to sacrifice their purpose in life. All of their actions are driven by this purpose. It drives it. And so when there's conflict, when those purposes conflict with one another, then you have super conflict, right? And it explodes on screen, and it's usually very compelling drama for television and plays and movies, etc. Purpose. What is the person's purpose? And you often hear this about people who retire. They no longer have purpose, and their health declines immediately and drastically. What is a person's purpose? What is a porpoise's purpose, right? So what is the purpose of Disclosure? Disclosure is the main character here in this story. Disclosure's been the main character of this podcast story easily for the last 5 to 6, 7 years now, if not longer. Now, the main character sometimes becomes obsessed with shape-shifting and ghost investigations and ET contact and Bigfoot or Dogman or other thing, portals, right? Okay, so it's a revolving cast of main characters, but it's a why can't I think of the word? This is bonkers that I can't think of the word. Where it's a group of characters that are all the star. It's not just one. Oh my God. I know you're probably screaming at your phone right now or your computer like, Ryan, it's an ensemble. There it is. It's an ensemble. So what is the purpose? What is Disclosure's purpose? Disclosure's purpose, as far as I can tell, and for me to define it in this story, in the story structure of, to just, you keep using this metaphor, is to let everyone know what the truth is and that they have not been given the truth about the totality of existence and the universe and what life truly is. The purpose of Disclosure isn't to be like, there's UFOs and aliens, they're real, okay, see you later. It is to let people know that there is something so much bigger than this BS that we get wrapped up in here. This 3D, if you want to call it that. These problems, these misadventures, these conflicts, they are all garbage. They mean nothing in the big picture of Disclosure, of the universe being vast, of us just being one of the many life forms that exist through consciousness that connects all of us and everything. Through the CE5 protocols, you tap into that soup and your hollow noodle is now part of the bigger bowl. That is Disclosure's purpose, and it will not concede that purpose, and it will not give up that purpose. It is bound and determined to ensure that it succeeds, and it will succeed eventually. We solve one problem, two more will pop up. There you go. Okay, so that's going to do it for today. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. I know I had a good time. I don't know what video is going to be playing during this. It's going to be a loop of something, or maybe just a variation of images. Anyway, I love you. I hope you love yourself. I hope to see you at a live show. And if not, I'll be at the Comedy Attic in Bloomington, Indiana. I'll be all over the place. Asheville, Nashville, Utica, New York. And if I don't see you at a show, I'll see you at the watering hole on the astral plane.